A city paralyzed by violence. Families torn apart in its wake.
There is no feeling that I can ever say that I ever endured until that day.
Oh, that pain is unbearable.
Millions of dollars thrown at the problem. Community members on the front lines in harm's way.
Our office is where the gunfire is likely to happen at, for one.
How you doing? Police officers sent out with a singular focus: stop the violence.
Locate the shooters, hold them accountable, intervene, interdict, get ahead of retaliation.
Tonight, small signs of progress, signs that all this work is beginning to pay off, and a changing mission, preventing another surge.
It's the time to double down, not the time to pull away.
Thanks for joining us for KATU Investigates Stopping Portland's Gun Violence. I'm Wright Gazaway. It's no secret, Portland has been under the grip of a historic spike in violence. The last 2 years have been among the deadliest in our city's history. Tonight, for the first time in 3 years, there are signs of progress in Portland's effort to reverse that trend. Over the next half hour, you will hear from the people who are actually doing the work that is making that progress, both police and members of the community. But despite the encouraging signs of improvement, we'll show you there are still countless people right now trying to find a new meaning in life after burying a loved one too soon. During this program, you will also get a rare look into their grieving process and what these parents say needs to happen to prevent others from experiencing the same pain. We begin with their stories of loss and moving forward in their own words. These parents do not know each other. They have never met, not until they sat down in our studio to courageously share their pain, to give a face to the people most affected by Portland's gun violence crisis. Faces like 29-year-old Dominic Sawyer.
He taught me what unconditional love was. He taught me to be a mom. And he's gone. And the last time I saw him was we did a viewing after he had been killed. And that was the hardest thing. They had to pull me out of the room because I'd been in there with him for 5 hours. I don't wish this pain on anybody. It's hard. And a lot of the time I don't know who to turn to or who to talk to. I spend my days and my nights alone.
I feel so empty in the inside without my baby. I feel so empty. I never see her again. I never watch her babies. She'll never be able to have babies for me to grandparent to and show her through how much I love her.
Sam Howard lost not one, but 2 daughters to violence. The first, Shay Harris Howard, shot and killed in the summer of 2020. The man who admitted to doing it, serving nearly 20 years in prison now.
There is no feeling that I can ever say that I ever endured until that day. I felt like my insides were snatched out.
He lost his second daughter, Tiajanique Hudson Howard, in May 2023.
Can't nobody call Tiaja. Can't nobody call her. Her mom can't call her. Only thing we can see is her rap videos right now. That's how I see my baby. I'm looking down here at the cross right now. These are her ashes right here. That's all I see of my baby.
Danya Frazier lost her son in December 2021.
It's been 2 years, but it still feels like yesterday. Trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out how do I step into a role now for my grandkids. How do I pick up life for my daughter who lost her only brother? He was my only son. He was the one that grew me up, that matured me. I had him at a young age. I had him at 18. But even with that, he was the one that changed my life, the one that changed my life. And the tragic incident that happened 2 years ago changed my life again.
Based off of experience of working with families who have lost loved ones, you can feel their pain. You can have a similar understanding. But like it was said, when you lose yours, that's a different feeling. Oh, that pain is unbearable. I'm talking unbearable. And for the folks that just spoke, that takes so much encouragement, so much. You have to dig deep to find that love in your child that's not here anymore.
Portland's gun violence started spiking in the summer of 2020. The number of reported shootings continued to increase and stay at that level across nearly all of 2021 and 2022, all historically high figures. Each of these parents lost their children in the last 3 years. For some families, their pain allows them to find a new purpose. Michael Johnson and Danya Frazier found theirs.
There's going to be days when you smile, and there's going to be days when you don't want to talk to nobody. I went through my I don't like nobody phase. I did all that. And even for Cherish, I just met Cherish today, not even an hour ago. But Cherish, I'll tell you like I tell everybody else. You don't have to trust me. But I promise I will take your hand and we can walk through it together. Because there's so many things that we can relate to.
For me, it's like, what can I do to prevent? How can I interrupt? How can I change or inspire folks around me when I know the history of Portland and this gang violence?
My thing is we got to reach our babies. We got to reach our babies before it's too late.
The number of shootings finally started trending down at the beginning of 2023. Every month except June in 2023 saw fewer shootings than the same month in 2022. Michael Johnson says there's a role for everyone to stop the violence, to prevent other families from experiencing this pain.
The gap is big. And leadership, I don't knock them because they know what they know. But what they don't know, they don't know. And they have never had their finger on the solution or the problem here, because we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And it's just come time to hold accountability to the community.
Do you think city leadership does have a finger on what's really driving gun violence in Portland?
So that is a difficult question.
But how can violence be stopped? Can it even be stopped? We sat down with Mike Myers to discuss government's role. He's the city's point person to reverse the trend of deadly violence. He runs Portland's Community Safety Division.
You know, gun violence is a problem that starts well before the shots are fired. The decision to pick up the gun, to leave the home, to drive somewhere and to kill someone starts well before the shooting actually occurs. It starts in the community somewhere. The discussions that they're having, the idea that they have, the thought that's driving it, that energy behind it. So it's all related. We are all related in this problem, both the community at large and the city itself, on how we're going to solve gun violence together.
So from your seat, is the city trying to figure out how it can invest and get involved in those conversations that are happening before a shooting takes place?
We are. So, you know, there are a number of approaches to reducing gun violence. We are trying them all. One theory around gun violence is looking at places where gun violence are occurring. As you know, we look at what we call heat maps, places where pockets of gun violence are occurring. It's not everywhere, all over Portland. There are certain locations within Portland where gun violence is more prevalent. And if you peel back all of the layers and look at the actual locations where the gun violence is occurring, you can identify some of the issues that might be occurring. There are some commonalities. And so the city does have a responsibility to take a look at those areas, and we can also define some plans around how we might change the conditions within those areas.
That, Myers says, is one area the city has invested in over the last 3 years. The city has taken an all-hands-on-deck response to stopping gun violence in the Rose City. Is it working? More on that when KATU Investigates Stopping Portland's Gun Violence returns.
Good luck.
Portland is on a 3-year-plus journey to get a handle on historic levels of gun violence. Community members, social workers, and police officers are on the front lines daily, working around the clock to make our neighborhoods safer. Community members like Lionel Irving.
Our job, our office, is where the gunfire is likely to happen at, for one.
And police officers like the ones under Lieutenant Ken Dulio.
They're trying to get to those shootings on the front end, start those investigations early, and try to intervene and get ahead of retaliation, the cycles of violence that occur in this community.
KATU Investigates has covered extensively how leaders have invested heavily in law enforcement and community groups to get at gun violence from both sides. On one side, arresting and holding shooters accountable. On the other, extending an olive branch to people in and around gunfire, giving them resources to recover and a pathway to a different lifestyle. Community Safety Division Director Mike Myers.
And so there are a number of different initiatives that were rolled out over a 3-year period, all of them having some impact, whether it's a very small amount or a significant amount, to reduce gun violence.
Let's start with police. Their role in addressing Portland's gun violence has shifted over the last few years. In 2020, the city council at the time voted to disband the police bureau's gun violence reduction team over concerns it over-policed Portland's black community. That meant there was no team of officers focused on shootings. Then in April 2021, as violence spiked, the city council gave the bureau permission to retool its gun violence patrol team. This unit would be called the Focused Intervention Team. A group of community members would provide oversight. Officers started patrolling in early 2022.
What's happening, fellas?
We got an exclusive look later that year, riding along with officers on a night of patrolling.
Shooter's a black male, light skin, 5'6", skinny build.
FIT, as the team is called, complements a team of officers dedicated to investigating non-deadly shootings, the Enhanced Community Safety Team, also known as ECST.
How you doing?
Lieutenant Ken Dulio oversees both of those units.
Both those teams now have had some time under their belts. FIT has been in existence almost 2 years, and it's really great to see how much they've grown and progressed and developed in those 2 years, and they're pretty effective at what their mission is, which is to, locate the shooters, hold them accountable, intervene, interdict, get ahead of retaliation.
In 2023, FIT officers have made 252 arrests and seized 113 guns through late October, according to Dulio. He says the work could not have started at a more important time.
In 2023, those shootings have started to drop, and I think that is because of the efforts, the things that were put in place a year ago, 2 years ago, that are now starting to pay dividends.
Beyond police, Mike Myers says an intentional investment in the community is paying off as well. The city poured millions of dollars into community-based intervention programs over the last 2.5 years. Tax dollars started paying for nonprofits to offer intensive life coaches, essentially mentors to certain high-risk teens and young adults. Funding also beefed up a program that is growing in popularity nationwide, Violence Interrupters. These are people with a reputation in the community, street cred, who get in the middle of conflicts and try to resolve them short of gunfire. Many of them walked away from the same lifestyle that's leading to today's violence. We asked Myers why he believes it's important for taxpayers to fund these programs.
We felt compelled as a city to handle the emergency that was facing us at the time. Gun violence was at a historic rise in the city of Portland. We felt it necessary to make the investments necessary to bring gun violence down, and we've been doing that for the past 3 years.
The city spread these investments across different groups to rapidly increase the number of outreach workers. A KATU investigation in early 2023 found other similar-sized cities, like Minneapolis, had more violence interrupters than Portland. For the first time, KATU Investigates got a chance to sit down and speak with some of the men doing that work. A lot of them are on the other side of prison sentences and gang affiliations, looking to give back in a positive way. They have little doubt their work prevents violence.
We in the frying pan, if you think about it. We're like right there in the hot spots, around all the hot people that you would call, you know, the hot boys and girls, the ones that a lot of people don't want to stand next to. We got to pull them to the side and be like, look, hey, you know, I know you want to do this or you want to do that, but right now and how things is going, it's better if you do, you know what I'm saying, X, Y, and Z.
But shots not fired is basically that's our motto, and that's what all these guys are out in the streets and we're doing. We're preventing shots being fired in the community.
These self-described gang veterans say their life experiences give them instant credibility with would-be shooters.
We all dealt with some type of trauma in our lives. And so I'm able to recognize that and try to bring them and show them, you know, it's other ways to deal with the trauma besides just aggression and anger.
The intervention doesn't stop with guys like this. A new program in the county's health department offers even more help to people affected by gun violence. It covers things like therapy and mental health treatment for people 10 to 25 years old and their families. The low barrier treatment is totally free.
I think that it's vital that we have mental health services in our community, in the Black community and Latino community. Typically, those are things that we wouldn't talk about. So being able to create that space to where we normalize the conversation and begin to get into those issues, I think that we provide something that's vital because we realize that something is going on in our community that needs to be talked about.
Scott Williams says the program he runs is different than others because they go into people's homes. Over the past year, the team has provided 660 treatment services to 97 people. That includes things like mental health assessments, individual and family therapy, suicide screening, and safety planning. This is more than a profession for both men. It's personal.
I've lost cousins who are close to me. And you know, back in the 90s, my grandmother was the founder of Mothers Against Gang Violence. And so I feel like I've kind of been born into doing this work. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very blessed to have not only the clinical training, but the lived experience to kind of step into this work and really pour my heart into it.
The goal here is to stop cycles of violence. Here's why. A 2020 cost of violence study in Portland found every homicide cost the city and state $1.4 million per suspect. That covers the cost of investigating, prosecuting, and incarcerating suspects and providing services to families. The study found injury shootings cost $670,000 per suspect.
For one, these are our kids, so we need to be involved. And for two, a murder costs the community so much money, taxpayer money, that could be spent somewhere else. So if we can stop 1 to 10 to 15 murders, it's money that we can use as community members to improve a different part of our neighborhood. So,
neighborhoods often caught in the middle of gunfire. Portland's progress on gun violence is met with cautious optimism, not celebration. The year-over-year decline in 2023 is the first sustained decrease since 2020. Still, people are dying at an alarming rate. The concern in the community and even parts of city government is that people in power remain committed to paying for people and programs that stop violence.
We are not done yet. When you see a flattening of the curve and a sudden, sharp decrease in gun violence, that the trend has started to go down, it's the time to double down, not the time to pull away.
I think everyone needs to understand that it's going to take a long-term commitment, a commitment by the police bureau, by our mayor and our elected officials.
it ain't time to lighten up, it's time to tighten up.
The hope would be this level of commitment continues even if Portland gets back to 2015 level shootings. It's not all on police or city leaders or even community groups. Remember these parents? We told you they did not know each other before meeting in our studio. Sharing their stories of pain created such a bond, they ended in a group hug and prayer. A bond so tight, they vowed to stay in touch. Moments before that, they shared a plea to every mother and father listening to their words.
I don't care what color you are. I don't care how old you are. But it's time for the men to show up.
But it's also time for the women, the mothers, to allow the responsible men that are in their lives to take their responsible place. We can't teach a man to be a man. So it's time for that as well. We can't put all the blame on just the fathers. We got to do our part too.
We can't watch this. We can't sit on our hands. This is a fight that we're going to have to fight together if we won't change. Nobody's going to do it for us.
The work here is quite literally life and death. Every shooting prevented is possibly a life saved. The biggest takeaway tonight is that though there is progress, there is also a need for a continued commitment to stop the deadly scourge of gun violence.